Today on Legally Us, Tom Girardi makes a rare public court appearance while pleading not guilty. Plus, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are to be disposed in Samantha Markle's defamation lawsuit. Plus, why the Super Bowl is not featuring crypto ads. We've got that plus so much more on today's Legally Us. Hey everyone, welcome to Legally Us. I'm Christina. That's, of course, Neama Rahmani, president of West Coast Trial Lawyers and former federal prosecutor. Hi, Neama. How are you?
Great, Christina. How's it going?
Good. Last week's show got a lot of people talking. And so we wanted to highlight, before we get into all the legal news of the week, we wanted to highlight some of the user comments that you guys left. And a lot of people were talking about Lisa Marie Presley and Priscilla Presley's legal actions against the estate. So Lisa Watkins says, my concern is that Lisa's girls might not be as interested in Graceland as their mom was, and things might go downhill. Plus, there is the twins' dad in the picture. Can he get his hands on their money? I have to defend Priscilla to a certain degree. If she had not stepped in and fought for Graceland, it would have been gone long ago. I'm hoping she is just trying to keep it going as long as she can. Only time will tell. So is it possible that the father of the twins, who she had a very contentious relationship with, can he get his hands on their money?
Well, it's possible, but that money is supposed to go to the kids. And if a parent takes their child's money, then the kids or someone acting on behalf of the kids can assert a cause of action against the parent for misappropriating the funds. Obviously, kids can't manage money themselves, so hopefully the funds are placed in a trust, and as a trustee, dad would have a fiduciary duty to do right by the kids.
Definitely. Suzette says Lisa stated in a YouTube video that Graceland was hers, was her, always has been, and always will be. And when she was gone, it would go to her children. Therefore, Priscilla needs to respect her daughter's wishes. Lisa's children are her heirs. And again, they should have what belongs to their mom. Another user had said when I was scrolling through that maybe Lisa amended her will in 2016 because she thought that she was going to outlive her mom, which is possible as well.
It's very possible. And let's not forget, I mean, ultimately, this is Lisa's will, and it's really her wishes that control. And it doesn't really matter who would do a better job protecting Graceland and its interests. It's, the estate went from Elvis to Lisa and from Lisa to her kids. It's just that simple. And let's not forget, Priscilla is not even a wife. Really, she's an ex-wife. So once that divorce happens, those rights are terminated. So even if Elvis died without a will, nothing would go to an ex-wife because they no longer have that relationship.
No, definitely. And that was exactly what Supergirl, another commenter, said, that she's an ex-wife, not a widow. She doesn't have any rights to Elvis's estate the way she did when Lisa was a minor. And that's why Priscilla stepped in, because Lisa was a minor.
Exactly. So obviously, when there is a minor that makes, when there's a minor who inherits from an estate, obviously there has to be an adult that has to manage the finances for the minor. But that doesn't mean that the adult is the account holder or the adult is the property owner. The kids are. It's just there's an adult that's managing those assets for the kids.
Definitely. All right. Well, let's move on to Tom Girardi, because he made a rare public appearance. He attended the initial hearing for his federal court case in Los Angeles on February 6th. He looked pretty frail as he arrived at the courthouse. And during the hearing, the United States Magistrate Judge Karen L. Stevenson ordered him to undergo a mental competency evaluation and sealed all records related to his mental health. She also entered a not guilty plea on behalf of him. And he was released on a $250,000 bond. She said that Girardi doesn't have to wear an electronic monitor, but he may not leave the Central District of California. He was also forbidden from contacting any of the alleged victims or witnesses associated with the case. Now, his brother, Robert, is his conservator, and he told the judge that he understood his orders. He has been under conservatorship since 2021, when he was diagnosed with late onset Alzheimer's. He was like we said last week, he was charged with 5 counts of wire fraud and accused of embezzling more than $15 million from his legal clients. So what exactly first of all, were you surprised by this? Surprised that he pled not guilty? And even that he made an appearance in court?
I'm not surprised at all, Christian. This is big news here in my hometown of LA, but this is what we expected. There's no way Tom Girardi is going to plead guilty and pretty much serve the rest of his life in federal prison. His lawyers are going to try to drag this out as long as they can because he's out of custody. Why would he voluntarily plead and have to go serve time in federal prison? And of course, him having to make an appearance, this isn't a bankruptcy case or a civil case. This is a criminal case. He has to be present in court. And so I wasn't surprised to see him. And actually, he didn't say a word during the proceeding because he's obviously under a conservatorship and his lawyers are arguing that he's not competent to stand trial. That's why the judge entered a not guilty plea on his behalf.
Definitely. So what does a mental competency evaluation entail?
Yeah, this is something that the court will order when they believe that someone does not understand the nature of the proceedings and that they're unable to assist in their defense. So this is a little bit different from an insanity defense. This is someone that at the time of trial basically is, because of mental health or a physical incapacitation, they're unable to understand what's going on and help their lawyers. So obviously the defense is going to try to declare Tom Girardi incompetent to stand trial. And again, that's something that's a temporary situation. It can be temporary incompetence and someone can be restored to competency later through treatment or medication. But that has to be the plan in this case because you can't defend this type of prosecution straight up on the merits. I mean, there's so many victims, personal injury victims, people that have lost a loved one. And Tom Girardi is going to be hammered if he tries to actually litigate this case and argue that he didn't really steal the money.
No, definitely. So what does that look like? Do they just ask him a series of questions to see how he responds to certain things and if he's, making sense of things or he's completely incoherent, I guess?
Exactly. So there's going to be a court-ordered evaluation that will be a psychiatrist or a psychologist that comes and does usually days of testings, and he or she will prepare a report with the conclusions. And of course, the defendants will try to provide their own expert that's going to testify that Tom Girardi isn't competent to stand trial. So then the judge needs to make a determination. This isn't something that goes to the jury. This is a before trial ruling. And the judge will rule either A, that Tom Girardi is competent to stand trial, in which case we're going to move forward, or that he's not competent and this is going to be kicked out for some period of time while he continues to receive treatment. And then the judge will probably rule months or sometimes even longer whether he's been restored to competency and the case can move forward.
What if he never does? I mean, like we said, he's suffering from onset Alzheimer's. He's in his 80s. He's not in the best health condition. So, what happens if he never restores competency or even if he passes away?
Yeah, so if he passes away, the case against him is gone. You can't prosecute a dead person. So that's pretty clear. Now, the civil lawsuits can still move forward because they can get money from his estate. Now, we know there's not a lot of money there. They'll be getting pennies on the dollar. So civil cases can still happen. But the criminal prosecution will stop if Tom Girardi dies. But there is also that very real possibility that he is not only incompetent now, that he's never restored to competency, in which case the criminal trial will never happen.
All those poor people. You feel so bad for them. All right. Well, let's move on to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle because they will be deposed in a defamation case brought forward by her half-sister, Samantha Markle. So according to CNN, a judge just made this ruling on February 7th. She is suing Meghan for defamation and injurious falsehood in response to the royal couple's CBS tell-all interview back in 2021. She alleges that Meghan made false and malicious statements about her in the interview and that 50 million people saw this. It aired in 17 countries. She also points to the book, Finding Freedom, which, was published and disseminated false and malicious statements about her and her family and her upbringing. Now, she initially sued Meghan back in March of 2022, claiming that she was not honest about her past or their father, Thomas Markle, and she attempted to have the meritless lawsuit. Meghan attempted to have the lawsuit dismissed 3 months later. So what exactly does this mean? Will Harry and Meghan have to get on trial and talk about all of this? So are they going to be testifying in this case?
Christina, yes. So we're going to see Meghan Markle and the prince testifying in court. So obviously defamation, the big issue is, were the statements truthful? And not only are they witnesses, they're actually parties in this case. They're the defendants. So they're going to have to show up. It's no different from Amber Heard having to come and take the stand in a defamation case. So expect fireworks because really the entire case will turn on, were Meghan's comments during her interview and in her book, were they truthful?
Oh my God. Can this be televised like an Amber Heard, Johnny Depp trial? Can Meghan and Harry try to block that?
Well, absolutely. Obviously, trials in this country, there's a public presumption that they're televised. Now, there's some cases, usually criminal, to protect the criminal defendant too much publicity, where a judge can say, you know what, I'm not going to allow cameras in the courtroom for this particular case. But in state court, generally, there's a presumption. And this is a civil case. It's about money. No one's going to jail. So I would expect to see cameras in the courtroom in a case like this.
Wow. Can this be settled outside of courtroom before it gets to that point? And do you foresee Harry and Meghan doing so it doesn't become this media spectacle?
It certainly can, and the vast majority of civil cases do settle. But I don't know what Samantha's demanding. Does she want tens of millions of dollars, or is this a publicity stunt, or does she really want to clear her name? Because obviously we know that's what Johnny Depp wanted, right? It wasn't about getting money from Amber Heard. He wanted to clear his name. So until we know what Samantha's demands are and really what she's trying to get out of this case, there's the very real possibility that we see a trial here.
Yeah. Is it going to be hard for Samantha? Is it hard for somebody to prove somebody made statements about them that are not true? I mean, we saw it happen with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, but is that unusual?
Well, we don't usually see defamation trials here in the United States. Mm-hmm. We see them a lot more in Europe. The United States tends to be very First Amendment friendly, especially when you're dealing with these sort of public matters. Now, of course, Samantha is not a public person. So, when you're a celebrity or you're a politician, it's harder to win defamation cases because you have to show actual malice. But, right. Samantha is not Meghan and she's not the prince. So she doesn't have to meet that high burden. And obviously when, Meghan and the prince give these interviews, a lot of people see it. So if she can show that she was actually damaged and these statements were false, she may have a chance of winning. But really, the jury is going to have to determine, is this really about false statements, or is this trying to extract money out of your rich and famous sister?
Right. And it seems like she's calling on her father to also testify, Jason Knopf, who was, who accused Meghan of bullying Kensington Palace staff. So it seems like she's asking a lot of people to kind of speak on her behalf and back her up.
Well, that's important. And again, I hate to keep talking about Depp v. Heard, but one of the reasons that Johnny won was because he had so many witnesses on his side that were supporting him. And, whenever it's a he said, she said, or she said in this type of case, you want to get independent witnesses. Now, I don't know if those are necessarily independent ones, but you want people that don't have a financial stake in the lawsuit. And I think there are many reasons why Johnny Depp won. I think he was a much better witness, and Amber Heard was caught in some lies. But one of the other reasons was he had so many people come forward and testify on his behalf that were independent or very good witnesses. So Samantha's going to want to win this case. She's going to need to take a similar approach, line up those witnesses and make sure they testify.
Going to be interesting. Definitely going to be interesting. Well, as we know, this is a little bit of a different story, but the Super Bowl is right around the corner and there will be zero crypto ads on the Super Bowl Sunday. Insider reported that some crypto companies had pulled out of ad deals after FTX went bankrupt. Executive Vice President of Ad Sales Mark Evans told the Associated Press that 2 crypto firms previously had commercials booked and were ready to go, and another 2 were very close to agreeing to a deal. Of course, last year there was plenty of crypto ads, one featuring Larry David. And instead of crypto, you can expect to see a lot more alcohol ads, less car ads due to the economic uncertainty. So does the NFL and the Super Bowl, do they have liability if they show these crypto ads, much like celebrities being involved in these ads?
The NFL and the Super Bowl, they don't. They're clear. But I think if you have a choice of ads right now, given how much money crypto investors have lost, and really FTX, I mean, that bankruptcy and the prosecution of Sam Bankman-Fried, obviously the founder and CEO of FTX, and probably what's going to be the biggest fraud prosecution in this country's history. I think it's a bad look, even though there's no civil liability. And I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL wants to kind of stay away from that entirely, even though, of course, I love the Larry David commercial last year. It's one of the funniest I've ever seen.
No, definitely. And how careful do companies have to be to live up to their hype to avoid legal trouble now?
Yeah, I mean, crypto was the Wild West. It wasn't really regulated, and a lot of people made a lot of money. A lot of people lost money. And this is an example of laws being behind technology, right? So, obviously blockchain technology and crypto was something that came about really quickly, and it wasn't regulated in the way, traditional stocks are, the SEC regulating some of this. Now, of course, the laws have changed and regulations to catch up with this, but it's really too little too late. And now that, the crypto bubble has burst, it's going to be interesting to see what steps lawmakers take and regulators to kind of prevent something like this from happening in the future.
No, definitely. And I'm sure steps that celebrities now have to take before signing on the dotted line before they want to get in bed with some of these advertising companies.
Exactly. There was so much crypto money they were just throwing it at investors, getting them to whether post or shout out or sponsor or just advertise these different companies. And a lot of these celebrities, they were really unaware of the product that was being sold and the representations that were being made. So they got caught up in all these different lawsuits by people that were defrauded. So I think celebs are going to be a lot more careful going forward, because the last thing they want to do is get dragged into some sort of litigation and be on our show with me and you talking about them on Legally Us.
Exactly. Well, despite no crypto ads, I'm sure there's going to be a ton of great commercials for Super Bowl Sunday. Neama, thank you so much as always.
Thanks, Christina, as always, and I'll see you next week.
See you next week. And we love seeing what you guys have to say about the show. So please leave us some comments, keep subscribing, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Yeah, we love the comments. Thanks, everyone.
For more news content and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.